Hello. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a video this week because up until this afternoon the blue thing that was on the loom last week was still on the loom. However, I had a burst of productivity, the likes of which I'm never going to have again, and I got this one finished and off the loom and something else on the loom, which I'll show you in a moment. We'll talk about this one first because I'm already holding it up really well, holding that up well so that you can see it. So this is the pick up stick pattern one. You can see those little groups of 3 floats. So that's the top side that I was looking at while I was weaving. And then on the underside, we have these floats, which are highlighting the warp colours a little bit. So in the wet finish, what I'm hoping for is for these to swell up or bloom a little bit and for the weft to shift around those floats. And often when there's a float, there's like space around that float for the yarn to move. So it often shifts around the floats. I haven't sampled. If I had sampled, I would be able to tell you exactly what was going to happen in the wet finish. I don't sample because I'm lazy. So my technique is just to throw things in the wet finish and see what happens. So I haven't twisted the fringes yet. I will get onto that. And hopefully this will be quite interesting when it is wet finish. It's quite interesting now. I do like that effect and I should do that more often. So I'll wet finish this and we'll see what it looks like. Now the yarns for this one. The warp, which you can see badly. There we go. How long have I been doing this that I still can't just hold stuff up well? There you go. There's the yarn for the warp. This is from Hawthorne Cottage Yarns. I'll put a link to the Etsy in the description. The weft, the blue there, is Bendigo Woollen Mills Rustic. I want to say Rustic. I think it is Rustic. In one of the blues. I forgot to look up which blue it was, or even if there's more than one blue. But that's what it is. Now, speaking of Bendigo Woollen Mills, because, you know, as I said last week, why don't I just marry them? This is not the best warping up of anything I've ever done, but it's on the loom and sometimes that's half the battle. So I'll show you what's on the little loom. I'm just going to shuffle slightly to the side and I'm also going to stand up properly in a minute. There we go. So this is what's on the little loom. This is Bendigo Woollen Mills Elixir, which is made out of recycled natural fibres. I don't know specifically which natural fibres are in this, but it is apparently recycled. It is supposed to be 16 ply, but it does fit in a 7.5 dent heddle. Now, when you're figuring out what heddle to use, there's a lot of maths you can do, there's a lot of techniques you can use. You can figure out how many, you have like an inch of ruler and you wrap your yarn around it, figure out how many wraps per inch and that figure. What I do is get the heddle that I'm thinking of using and then poke the yarn through one of the holes and see how it sits. If it's too tight, then I will change my heddle size. If it's too loose, I'll change my heddle size. And again, of course, depending on what sort of effect you want, if you want an open weave, you want a bigger heddle, whatever, a wider heddle, not a bigger one. A bigger one wouldn't fit in the little loom, you see. So that's my technique. I don't do the maths. And again, that's not because I think I'm cleverer than anybody else. That's because I'm lazy. My technique is just to poke it through the heddle and see if it works. So this is a Fibonacci sequence. It is not my best warping. That's a little bit too cigar shaped, but it's fine. It's fine. It'll be okay. This is a Fibonacci sequence. So it's a repeating Fibonacci sequence coming in from each side. And when you're threading up, it goes 5 threads through the slots. I'm going to explain something and confuse the situation. So this is 10 threads, but it was 5 loops. So when you're warping up, you take a loop through each slot. And then when you've finished winding it onto the back beam here, you move one of those threads to the hole. So it is 5 loops, 5 threads when threading up, but then 10 in practice. Was that clear? I don't know. Anyway, it's 5, 3, 2, 1, 1, because that's the Fibonacci sequence in reverse, otherwise known as 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. The Fibonacci sequence is the sum of the previous 2 numbers. So that's 1, and then there's nothing to add to that, so it's 1 again, and then you've got 1 plus 1, which makes 2, and then you've got 2 plus 1, which is 3, 3 plus 2, which is 5. The great thing about the Fibonacci sequence is it always looks good. It always looks good because it's mathematically balanced, and it's a great way to do stripes if you just don't want normal stripes. You can have normal stripes, nothing wrong with a normal stripe. I'm certainly not going to cast dispersions on a normal stripe, but I do like a Fibonacci. Now this yarn here, which is showing up yellow in my viewfinder, I don't know what it's going to look like in the actual footage because my viewfinder's a bit, you know, does its own thing. It's actually Chartreuse, and it has been a pain because I don't mind a contrasting colour match. I love purple with anything, and purple kind of contrasts with everything. It looks great to me. I don't mind a colour clash. I don't mind contrasting colours. I also don't mind complementary colours. I like colours, and I like colours that play nicely together. This is, because it's a greeny yellow or a yellowy green, depending on the light situation, it didn't sit well with anything in my stash. So when I did my last Bendigo Woollen Mills order, I ordered Fire Engine Red to go with it. I also got green, which I'm going to do something else with. You know, it was there. It looked lonely. I thought it should come home with me. Anyway, that's what's on the little loom, very fresh. There's my hem stitching. And as I said, not my greatest effort at warping up. But it is, I think because it's a slightly chunky yarn, it doesn't sit quite as nicely on the back beam. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. So we'll see how far I get on that. This is going to be quite a quick weave. It's a bit gappy at the sides, but that's going to sort out in the wet finish probably. Or then again, it might not, in which case I'll say it's rustic. And that is pretty much all I have for you. Although last week I was talking about Hawthorne Cottage Yarns. I'm going to put this down. You go there. Thank you. Thank you. I believe in you. Now, so last week I was talking about Hawthorne Cottage Yarns because that's what I used as the warp on that blue one with the floats. So I went to their Etsy and saw some yarn and thought to myself, I have yarn. I've got loads of yarn. Anyway, I ordered the yarn. So I ordered this as a direct result of last week's video. So when I put the link in this week, I'm not going to look at it because I had to order those. I had to. Now, I have kind of a plan for what I'm going to do with these, but I do want to break out the big loom to do that because I want it to be as wide as possible with these colours, and I think it's going to be too wide for the little loom. I'm just eyeing off the little loom right now, and I think there's too much yarn to do a nice width. So I'm going to break out the big loom, but to do that I need to clear the table. And when I say the table, I mean the table of doom. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it is also not, there's not a lot of room to put a big loom on it. I need to warp up the big loom on the table. So this one, this little one here, I clamped this one to a dining chair because it is small. There's a little hole there to put the clamp. My thumb's in the way. There you go. Little hole there to clamp it to something. So I clamped this to a dining chair and it works beautifully. I can do that anywhere. I can do it inside, I can do it outside. My spine doesn't like it, but my spine needs to just settle down and stop complaining. So this is great and portable, and I can do it outside or whatever. The big loom is too big to clamp to a dining chair, and there's no room at any of the other tables, so I do need to clear the table of doom. And that is probably my project for the week, is to clear that table. I don't mean to make myself sound like a messy person, but I am kind of messy. The problem is I don't have a lot of places to put things, so everything goes on the table, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate. So what I need to do is find places to put things, and I might do that this week. Then again, I might not. We'll find out. Next week, I may or may not have the big loom in play. I'm not entirely sure where the big loom is. It's got to be around here somewhere. It's a big loom, very hard to lose. Anyway, that's a problem for me to deal with. You take care of yourself. Have a lovely rest of your week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.